My biggest fear when I first started teaching was probably just worrying that I wasn't going to be enough for the students. Worrying that you're not going to get through to some of those harder kids and be successful with all of the different things you're having to manage. You eventually get to that point where you are starting to feel confident and you are reaching those kids, even if you don't feel like it every day. It's kind of the little small victories along the way. As you get into it, you realize I'm here to build relationships with these kids. I'm here to build them up, make them realize that they are capable and they are loved and they are worthy. So when my students think back to being in my classroom, the most important thing that I want them to feel is just the memory of belonging. Especially in 5th grade, there's a lot of insecurities. There's kids trying to figure out who they are and what they're doing moving forward. I want my students to feel confident and able to move forward with, that feeling that they are able to do whatever they set their mind to, and that I was there to help them along the way to achieve that. Growing up, I had a very involved mom and dad that were there to, make sure that I had everything that I need, that they were there for my sports activities and dance recitals and different things. I started realizing that there's a lot of students that come from broken homes that don't have a consistent adult pouring encouragement and love into them. And that's really what made me want to become a teacher, was being that if there's kids that don't have this in their personal lives, then I can provide that for them in a school setting.
I've been there since the Satellite Center opened back in 2005, and it's just been both an honor and a pleasure for me to be there. It's kind of cool to see the growth and kind of look back as a teacher on how I've grown since those first years to where I am now. So my biggest fear when I first started teaching was that because I didn't come from a teaching background, I was always kind of looking over my shoulder. Like, I was afraid that somebody's going to come tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, we made a mistake. Like, you're the wrong person for this job. We need to get you out of here. But the coolest thing about it was after maybe the first week, just being around the kids, you kind of start feeding off their energy. So there's been a lot of moments in my teaching career that have kind of stood out to me and where I know that I was making an impact on team members' lives. A few years ago, I got a package in the mail from California. So I opened it up, and inside of it was a game package for a PlayStation game. And inside of it, there was a note from one of my former team members, and he said that it had always been a goal of his to work for a AAA rated gaming company and work on a really big name game. And his wish had finally come true. And that, I don't know, it kind of hit me real hard because it was a goal of this kid for his whole life to be able to do this. And this is just a young man who was a kid in Destrehan. That stuff that we talk about is if it's say, hey, look, I just want to be successful. And I guess my definition of success is being able to support yourself, being able to do something that you love, finding something that you're passionate about, and then just treating other people nice. I just hope wherever they go, they find something that they're doing that they like and that they're making maybe an impact on other people's lives.
So to have the opportunity to represent New Sarpy Elementary means a lot to me. It is a part of my journey. It is a part of my purpose, and I pray that my experience will be rewarding or an example for someone else coming along. I just always wanted to make sure that I was intentional about what I did, and I've always allowed myself to learn and to grow. I hope that my students remember that they can do whatever they set their minds and their hearts to do. I hope they remember all the accomplishments they achieved while in my classroom, whether it was a challenge coming in and then gaining and earning mastery at the end, or whether it was a challenge throughout the school year. Just having that mindset and that understanding that I may not know it now or I may not know it yet, but with a positive mindset, they will continue to work towards their goals, whether it's in the next grade or years down the road, but it will be the foundation or a small part of their futures, whether it's academically, socially. Anytime a student grasps a skill that they've struggled with is always that shining moment for me. It's just seeing the students succeed. Those are the moments that I hold dear. Those are the moments that mean the most to me. My students being successful.
When I first started teaching, I felt like I didn't know anything, you know. It was kind of like playing a game, like, okay, I'm here, I'm the adult, I'm supposed to know things. But I've grown as I have my own kids, and my own kids have gone through and been in elementary school. When my students look back, I hope that they know that I was their cheerleader, that I wanted them to be successful, that they know that I cared about them, that I was going to push them, that they were allowed to make mistakes in my classroom, and I wasn't going to judge them, that I was there to help them. One moment that stood out to me and made an impact was years ago. I taught 4th grade, and I had a student that lost her mother, and just seeing her come to school, we cried together, I hugged her, just seeing how she grew. And then she moved away, and years later she contacted me on Facebook and was like, "Miss Hollis, I don't know if you remember me, but you made such a big impact on my life." And just the fact that she remembered me, I think that made me realize that what I do makes a difference, and that I can impact children. My hope for the future of my students is that they are successful in whatever they choose to do. And I just hope that they believe in themselves as much as I believed in them, and they're successful at whatever they do.
What it means for me to represent RJVL is it is the most exciting moment that I've had at RJ. I looked around and every child was so ecstatic. They were screaming my name, and so just to be able to represent RJVL, I feel so loved. I am a special education teacher, so I have a lot of students with a lot of high needs, and I just wanted to make sure that every child, every day, I did my best. And so I feel like I'm doing that now, and I just want to continue on helping each student meet their needs. When my students look back on all their years of education, I hope that they understand their worth. Every child is capable of having a great career, a great future. It's just about showing them what they're good at. I really think that my mom inspires me to teach. My mother is a teacher here in the parish. How I see her interact with her children, I wanted to feel that pride, that comfort that you get when you help a child and you're leading them down their career path. A moment that stood out to me in my teaching career would have to be probably last year. I had a student, he sat there and he just didn't have that spark. And so I needed to make sure that he understood that he was good at things. So I pulled him aside, and once I showed him what he was good at and that he had knowledge and that he was great at things, he wanted to do more. And so I sat back and I realized I should do this with every student. So setting goals with students has to be what motivates me the most.
Our school is such a nurturing and supportive environment, and the fact that I have all of the supportive faculty and students and everyone behind me makes me feel really good. My biggest fear when I first started teaching was that you never knew what was going to happen, so the unexpected. So you quickly learn to expect the unexpected. I am a different teacher now than when I first started by being more flexible. You learn to just roll with the punches. You learn that something isn't going to work in the morning with the morning lesson that you taught your first class. You quickly have to reflect, change, and figure out ways of how to make it better for the second class. If you're not reaching someone, you know to just be flexible and go. When my students look back, I hope that they remember and take with them that I cared about them, that I was their #1 fan, that anytime that they had a problem, they can come to me. My first grade teacher and my 6th grade teacher inspired me to teach. My first grade teacher ended up rolling up with me to 3rd grade, so I had her twice. So she just really built the foundation and nurtured all of her students and really cared for them. And my 6th grade teacher was very transparent and real and coached us. And those qualities I really loved, and it just made me want to become a teacher. One moment that stuck out to me was when I was with our school improvement team for our Christmas dinner, and I ran into a former student that happened to be our server. She went on to tell the entire table how much I inspired her to become a teacher and how much I meant to her and how much I supported her. And it was just cool to hear.
To represent Hahnville High School as Teacher of the Year means so very much to me. I bleed a little purple and gold. I have been there for 18 years. From a little child, I wanted to be a teacher. I got my first little teaching set, my first piece of chalk, and right away realized that this was a cheap piece of chalk and that my teachers had very expensive chalk, and I couldn't wait to be a teacher. I'm proud of myself that I am doing what I set out as a child that I was going to do, and that I still love doing it and still want to remain in the classroom teaching math. When my students look back at their time in my class, I hope they take away the home feeling, the safe feeling, and the fact that they can conquer anything. And at the same time, I'm always an email away. I've had students come back and ask me questions like, can you please help me, in this trig class? One moment for me in particular is I just started doing ACT math intervention. And so I've been pulling students one-on-one to help tutor them in math to help them bring up their ACT score. And this particular student wanted this score so he could get into college. And he got it, and he was yelling it down the hallway. Like, I got my score, I got my score. Now, granted, he did a lot of work on his own. It wasn't just me, but that I just realized that all of my help and my tutoring and my working with him so hard actually helped him, and now he's going to college. And now he gets to do what he wants to do.
What inspires me to teach is the fact that I, as a single person, can make an impact on so many people every single day. It's of those tiny moments that come together that make it a big moment for me. It may be inconsequential to start, you may not think anything of it, but looking back, it's like, wow, that kid hadn't smiled all year and they smiled at me this morning when they walked by. That's a huge win for me, or it's a huge win for the kid. And so there's really not one moment I can pinpoint because my job is so fulfilling. And every single day I try to bring the best version of myself for the kids because they need that. And being able to inspire them one day hopefully inspires them later on in the future to do good for our community, because these kids are going to be our future. When students look back on their time in middle school and having me, Waco Bickham, as a teacher, I hope they remember the fun that we had, and that, math's important, but you were important as well. And that I hope they realized that I cared about them and that they looked forward to coming to my class every day when they had me. And every single day I tried my best to do the best for the kids, and I think it's paid off. I mean, now kids have secret handshakes with me. I know pretty much every kid in the building, 6th grade to 8th grade. I've really embraced the culture of the kids, and they've embraced who I am as a person, and it's really made those fears I had going in and made them not fears, but almost strengths, because I got to know the kids on a deeper level. And it's just, hey, you're my students. No, you're my students, but I know you beyond who you are as a student. I know who you are as a person and what your goals are and where you want to be in the future.
I think seeing the teachers that I had, the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment that they got out of teaching, it instilled in me the love of teaching. Ms. Vicks made me become Maya Angelou. So she put her whole heart and soul into everything she did. And the children knew not just by what she did, but what she said to them and where they saw her at. Like, it was nothing for us to see Miss Vicks Everson Lower, but then in the afternoon, we would see her Thunderbird riding down the street, and we knew she loved us in the school, but she also loved us outside of the school. I think we have this idea that to be successful, we always have to be perfect and we always have to be right. So I think when I first started, I was more concerned with what I was teaching versus the who I was teaching. And I think it needs to be a balance of both, because I always say I want my child to receive the teaching that I give to my kids. So back then, if I was worried about being perfect, and now I'm worried about building relationships and providing meaningful experiences, I just know that every time I plan, every time I collaborate, that's what's on my mind, because I know that's what I would want my child to have in return. I love all of my kids. Like, I love them from August to May, and I always tell them, boys and girls, Miss God loves you. Miss God cares for you. So every year, what I do is I read the story called Our Class is a Family. And it actually becomes our class motto. So whether we are celebrating each other, whether we're crying together, whether there's a challenge and we have to include some problem solving, I always go back to my kids and I say, well, hey, if he can do it, you can do it. If he has it, you can share it, because our class is a family. Because ultimately, I know the children that I'm teaching today, that is our future.
My biggest fear when I first started teaching is that I wasn't going to truly make the impact on the students that they needed in order to become successful. I feel like way back when, I was focused on making everything so just fun and focusing on making sure I was teaching everything that needed to be taught. But now I feel like I have such a focus on the student understanding their strengths and challenges and what they love and putting that into my lessons so that it could be more engaging for them. I hope when looking back that they can remember that I motivated them, that they can do anything in life if they set their mind to it, and that motivation and encouragement can go a long way, that their passion, whatever they see is what they want to do, that they can do it no matter what. Something that happened quite recently has made a really big impact is a student came up to me and said, I want to come with you today. I was like, are you coming with me today? And they were excited, and when they left, they said they didn't want to leave because they said, when I'm with you, all I feel is success. I feel like I can do anything when I'm with you. Knowing that I made that impact on a child, that they don't want to leave, because you truly want them to feel success. Because when you feel success, you can do anything in life.
I'm definitely a different teacher now by having more determination and more of a creativity to bring to the classroom, because when I first started, it was kind of a survival mode, like what are we gonna do? You know, like I'm gonna do what my partner teacher does and my principal says I have to do. And then now I've kind of grown and said, okay, we're gonna do this, but let's make it a little bit more fun, which they then love. And they love all of that silly, funky stuff that I make them do. I love to see them, you know, stepping in front of the class and presenting why they wanted their main character, which was one from 3rd grade, and why they should win the class Emmy. The one person that inspired me to teach was my mom, because she was a 6th grade teacher, and she did teach all between as well, showing a light on education that I didn't see before. One moment that impacted my education career was a student who had like kind of a rough home life, where I broke it down with her and I said, like, one day you could be a nurse because you are patient, caring. And after that, she was like, what do you mean? Because you are so smart and you have qualities that I don't have, that nobody else has. She changed in my class, but she also changed her demeanor around. And so she then opened up to me later and was like, nobody ever told me that I could go to college or what I could be when I grow up. And I was just want her to finish her essay, and I just wanted her to do well. So those things, like from then on, it kind of hit me like, I can really, you know, motivate kids, but also like change the society around me to be better.
To represent Destrian as Teacher of the Year is really exciting because I'm a Destrian alumni, class of 2010, and I've known I wanted to be a teacher since I was little. I actually fell in love with teaching when I was a peer tutor in our after-school tutoring program at Destrian. So some of the rooms that I'm teaching in, the room I'm teaching in now, I had a class in, so it's really special to get such an honor at a place that means so much to me. The people who inspired me to teach were all the teachers I had through the St. Charles Parish Public School System. Obviously, a lot of my high school teachers, I steal ideas from them, and I think back to how I felt in their class and try to make my students feel that way. Also, elementary teachers I had, I still keep in touch with, and they give me great advice. I do these positive postcards to just kind of students that are putting forth effort. It may not be the student that always gets the spotlight shown on them. Just say, hey, I see you're doing your work. I see you're improving. Good job. And I wrote one to a student that really struggled in my class. Fast forward to the August she started college, and she Facebook messaged me, and she was like, I was really nervous before class this morning, but I knew I could do it because I have the postcard you sent me on the mirror, and I knew you were proud of me. When my students look back, I hope they know I really cared about them and that I believed in them. I teach geometry, and it's definitely not everybody's favorite subject, but just showing growth along the way and knowing that I thought they could do it, I was proud of them, and the biggest thing is that they're proud of themselves and that they take ownership of their learning.
I just really love being at St. Rose. I think it's a great school. We have some great teachers over there. I think one of the things about teaching, and I've been doing it for a long time, is it's the students that you teach and the people that you work with. The kids inspire me to teach because I enjoy teaching the kids, and I just want to, to see that smile on their face, to see them when they, I have them from K to 5 now, so when they start at K in kindergarten, they always so tall, they only can do so many things, and to see them get, when they're 5th graders, they grow, they get old, I establish a relationship with them for 5 years, and then of course I follow them into junior high and high school, so That's what inspires me to keep teaching. I want them to see new things, to learn new things, and tie it all together. It's one thing about physical education, it's different than any academic subject. You're educating them, but they're using their bodies when you educate them. I want them to learn some of the activities that we do are lifelong activities. So I want them to take those activities and do them as an adult. Could be golf, could be tennis, things that they didn't know nothing about, and we introduced them and they liked them and they became lifelong activities for them.
What it's like for me to represent Abercrombie Middle School as Teacher of the Year is it's a very exciting idea. I didn't think I'd cry when I find out, but I did. Just seeing my kids with my students, I could probably cry right now, was very awesome for me. So I'm very proud to be there, Teacher of the Year. My mother inspires me to teach. She is an administrator in another district, and I find myself striving to be just like her. Striving to do things like she did, how she looked at things, being that person that majority of the students are going to like, that struggle for everybody else. And so she's been my inspiration for all of it. What I hope my students carry on and take away from having me as a teacher is that I cared about them. And it wasn't just caring about their grade, it was caring about them as a whole, making sure they were okay, making sure that their grades in their other subjects were okay. When I first started teaching, I feel like I was a kid with the kids. And so I feel like I have gained more experience and knowledge on what they accept, what they like, just as a whole of how do I handle them. And I think becoming a mother really helped that idea because I started thinking of it in perspective of what would I want from my child, because that's what I'm going to give every child in my classroom. I think when I go back to sporting events and I see the students I've had in the past and they're excited to give me a hug, I know I'm making a difference. Because I had a student, I challenged him a ton, but this year he gave me his jersey for his senior idea, and so right then and there I knew that I challenged him. I gave him a hard task sometimes, but it really paid off.
For me to represent my school as Teacher of the Year, it's a very rewarding feeling. I've been there for 18 years. I am a different teacher now from when I first started teaching. Because when I first started, of course, I didn't have any children, and I think that you think through a different lens when you have kids of your own, and it makes you a better teacher. I'm different because I have learned so much throughout all of my years, had a lot of professional development, and have just become a lot more comfortable. So when my students look back as me as their first grade teacher, I would like them to know how much they were loved as first graders. I want them to know that they have developed a love for learning. They can do whatever they want in life, and looking back and just knowing that they were successful is really rewarding and something that I want them to feel for the rest of their life. I am inspired to teach by teachers that I had in the past. Going through school myself, I always looked up to my teachers and always admired what they did. The one moment that stands out to me in my teaching career is just the moment of success. Like when I see that in my students and see that they realize that they were successful, just stands out to me every day. The moment that they get it and that light bulb goes off is just really what gets me all the time.
Things that I want my students to take back from me is that part of band is failure. There's no other thing besides the arts that we always strive for perfection. It's not attainable. It isn't. There's always something you can fix, you can change, you can make better. And I want them to know that happens in real life. It's okay. Failure's always an option. It's how we grow from it that makes a difference. I had a really special mom, and she always wanted me to be the best teacher I could be, to be the best person I could be. And the other one that inspires me is my little girl, especially now, because she's going into music, and I get to see it again. like the excitement again through the eyes of somebody that's so excited about going into the teaching profession. And that love, and it inspires me to want to be even better. One moment that impacted my teaching career, I got my very first sweepstakes at state. One of my students raised his hand, a little bassoon player, and he said, "Miss B, we're doing this for you." And at that moment it hit me. They think this is about me. And I went, no. You do this for you. You don't need to do it for me. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is what I love, and this is what I love to do. And I couldn't imagine not doing what I'm doing.